BYU has been rocked by some allegations going out to their starting quarterback, Jake Retzloff, today. Sexual assault is nothing to play with, but let's be patient while we look at this.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia, where this is an emergency episode where we're going to be talking about the ongoing situation at BYU as news has come out within the last few hours about their starting quarterback, Jake Retzloff, who actually got his first start against West Virginia. So this is going to be super interesting to talk about. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, guys, if you want $200 in bonus bets, head over to FanDuel, where if you win your first $5 bet, you get $200 in bonus bets, but you got to win. That's at FanDuel right now. We're going to talk about that on this episode. We're also going to be talking about Jaheim White on this episode, even though I don't have it advertised because I caught wind of it just right before I got on here. But Jaheim White left off the top 10 running backs list, and Greg McElroy actually explains why, college football analyst, explaining why Jaheim White left off that list. So we're going to talk about that as well. All right, guys. If you're unfamiliar with what's happening, or if you don't follow the Big 12 and you only follow West Virginia, and this impacts West Virginia, and I'm going to tell you why, but that's not what's important, really. So today, on May 21st, a civil lawsuit has been filed accusing starting quarterback Jake Retzloff of sexual assault in November 2023. No criminal charges have been filed. We'll get more to that later because there could be a string of things involved with that part of this that makes this even worse than probably worse than the charge itself. Retzloff's attorney claims he's innocent, so they're going to be fighting this. But the allegations are absolutely rocking Provo to the core right now. This would be like Nico and Jalen getting in trouble for us because we would have no starting quarterback, assumedly. And then there's another portion of this where even if he didn't do anything on the legal side of things, there is BYU's code of conduct, which is a whole other ball of wax, where you're supposed to save yourself till marriage, and this whole thing that they have with that. So there's a lot to get into here, but obviously we know Retzloff, he started all 13 games in 2024, and what a successful year they had at almost 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and went 11-2. Probably should have been in the playoff or close to it, but unfortunately they didn't get in. And now they've got this kid coming back. The entirety of Provo was excited for that. And now we've got this. And listen, football goes by the wayside for situations like this. And I think it's extremely important that we take note of no criminal report, right? But also the fact that, things like this are always so cut and dry, where there not being a criminal report means a lot of anything, So I think here's where I'm at with this. So I don't know, this girl is going by Jane Doe. And so she obviously doesn't want to be, to be named in this. But she went and had a rape kit examination at the hospital a few days after the alleged assault happened, and then reported the incident to the Provo police. And initially she said that what's being reported is that she withheld his name due to fear of confrontation, but later identified him after the police officer inquired, noting another complaint against a football player. So the officer had allegedly discouraged her from pursuing this action at the time, claiming that, quote, sexual assault victims never get justice. And this is consistently reported across all sources, including the Salt Lake City Tribune, USA Today, ESPN. So I think this is one of those things where I liken it to the Jameis Winston situation. Whenever that was going on, remember? And there was a lot of questions about the Tallahassee Police Department. I just wonder if this is a similar situation where, you know, if this is happening, not saying that it is, but if this is a police wide situation, and like I have a friend that's close to the situation that works in Provo on the beat there as a writer, said that they've been known to be shady for a very long time at the precinct. So, is it out of the scope of possibility that some crooked cops would be steering these allegations and different things away from the BYU name that is so important to people there in Provo? The image that they want to uphold to the public is very important to them, similar to a pastor at the pulpit, right? He's not been criminally charged, and it just makes you wonder if could this be something more nefarious? I don't know. I don't want to make any accusations, but certainly this could be really bad for just everybody involved if that's the case. You don't really hope for anything in this. What is the best case scenario? That she's lying? I don't know. It's so hard to speculate in either direction on this because you don't want to go too far in one direction. I know for a fact, due to my personal history, I've told you guys this. I've talked about this a lot. I've talked about it publicly. The very first time I ever got in trouble in my life, I actually didn't do it, and I didn't know how to fight it, so I just did the time, right? And I think that does happen, because you're in jail, you're cut off from communication to everybody, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to go to court and they're asking you to make these decisions. It's really hard. So, especially when you didn't do it. Now, I'm not saying that Retzloff did or didn't do this. I'm saying it doesn't matter to the point on a football side, because he could have just had consensual sex, and that's enough to get him kicked off the BYU team here. That's the part of this that's the wild card. The image of the Brigham Young program is very, very, very important to them. And I don't know what's going to happen with it, because I think you have to, at this point, he's probably going to have to admit something as far as, whether it was consensual or whether it didn't happen. But if it was consensual or whatever, then, he's still going to face some kind of ramifications from this. So, but like I said, his attorney says he's factually innocent, a nice young man, and they're going to fight this. It's going to be seriously interesting to watch. And I don't know, BYU is going to get rocked here as this process continues. And there's a lot of cards to pick up off the ground at the end of this, because there could be a woman that's been assaulted. There could be a myriad of different things. I don't want to go through them all because I'm not standing on one side or the other here. She could, like I said, she could be lying. She could be telling the truth. He could be lying. He could be telling the truth. Nobody really knows. But I think when everything's said and done, sounds like at least sex has happened here. But then again, she waits days to make this accusation, and then how is he supposed to know it's him? A rape test was done. It sounds like that happened, but was it with Retzloff? Was it with somebody else? There's so many questions we don't know the answers to. And I really don't want to continue to speculate because I don't want to offend anybody or be wrong about something. So, but there's physical evidence. There's bruises, a cut lip documented during the hospital visit, which, the Desert News and KSL have additionally said that, that's been the hospital has pictures of this. But, once again, I say, doesn't necessarily mean Retzloff did it. Doesn't mean he didn't do it. But it could have been any other guy, why wait? Sometimes I wonder why people wait. And then I people will say, well, there's trauma, there's a shock involved. And I get that. I'm not saying that there's not that. I just, it makes these cases so tough. And I don't envy, anybody that's having to look into this. But this is a big deal. Now, on the field, which is the least important part of this, let me just get that across to anybody watching this. This is the most the most non-important part of this, right? Like this is minuscule compared to everything else that's going on for both parties. I know what it's like to be locked up for something I did not do and wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I literally spent multiple years behind bars because I didn't know how to fight something, and I hope that doesn't happen here. Thankfully, he's actually got probably money to fight something with, and I also don't wish any kind of sexual assault on anybody. And I just hope that the best outcome possible happens here, whatever that is. As far as West Virginia goes, you know, obviously West Virginia has a trip to Provo in October, and this would make the trip significantly easier. Although by then, I'm sure BYU would have a quarterback broken in. I went and looked into it, and they definitely have a couple options at quarterback that they could look at. So, I think they've got the current backup situation at BYU is um, Trayson Bourget out of Western Michigan and McKay Hillstead out of Utah State, who are both going to be battling for the quarterback 2 spot in 2025. Says there's no clear winner by the end of camp. But offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick said the competition would extend into fall camp. Hillstead is a 5'10", 195-pound redshirt sophomore from Lehigh, Utah, who started 4 games for Utah State in 2023, thrown for over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 8 picks. Dual threat with 4.6-second 40-yard speed, so he's fast, speaks Mandarin, but a small frame and interception issues are concerns. As far as Bourget goes, he's a much larger 6'2", 205-pound junior from Tucson, Arizona that started 8 games over 2 seasons at Western Michigan, who threw for 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 5 picks. Known for his leadership, strong deep ball, but needs to improve short and intermediate throws, and earned a scholarship at BYU after joining as a walk-on in 2024. And so without a quarterback too, Hillstead has a slight advantage due to that dual threat ability, in my opinion. But certainly I think, because they're kind of a mobile quarterback system, as you see at Retzloff. They get him on the move a lot and do different things. So neither one of these guys are Retzloff, who could legitimately become a Heisman contender this year. So, the on the field part of this is a big deal for sure. And BYU is, as everybody knows, returns a lot of talent and could absolutely be in the conference race this year. A lot of people have them in the top 4 for sure. Coming off that 11-2 years. So we'll continue to monitor this situation and pray for the best involved for everybody. I surely hope the girl isn't sexually assaulted, and I surely hope that Jake Retzloff didn't do it. But like I said, BYU's got that honor code, and there's probably going to be consequences either way. All right, guys, let's go to break. And on the other side, we're going to talk about Jaheim White. Man, he was left off the top 10 list of running backs. Why did they do that? Well, Greg McElroy explains himself. We'll talk about that next. This is Locked On West Virginia. This episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every day and every night, they're always going to deliver highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. And whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to win smart and big. And look, if you want to read on who's heating up, why not back it up with the same game parlay? It's pretty easy. I mean, come on, $200 in bonus bets. That adds the excitement. And do you have your first $5 bet ready? And are you ready if it hits? Because if you're new to FanDuel right now, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place that first $5 bet. Win and get that $200 in bonus bets. It's that simple. Make every moment more today with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NBA. It's segment 2, and let's crack a live wire do orange style. Orange you glad Jaheim White stayed at West Virginia instead of transferring out? I know I am. As we broach a much happier topic here in segment 2, Greg McElroy wants to explain himself. Jaheim White, one of the most explosive, elusive, just amazing running backs. Give me another adjective, somebody. In the country, but he's left off of the top 10 running backs list. Say it ain't so. Somebody, mama, there goes that man, right? That's who he is. Greg McElroy explains Jaheim White's omission from top 10 college football running back list. This is from Chandler Vessels on On3. Jaheim White was one of the players that Greg McElroy debated included on his top 10 running backs list entering 2025 college football season. Ultimately, the West Virginia star just missed the cut, but McElroy is still extremely high on the star running back entering this year. During his Always College Football podcast, the ESPN analyst explained that he liked the fit with Coach Rich Rodriguez, who returns to Morgantown this season after previously serving the Mountaineers coach from 01 to 07. That, combined with what we've already seen out of White in his first 2 seasons, have McElroy very excited for what the junior will bring. Quote, part of what I'm really bullish on with Jaheim White is he was really close to making our top 10. And this is the opportunity he's going to have. He's going to be in an opportunity to run in an offense that's going to put running backs in great situations to accumulate production, he said. Rich Rodriguez loves running backs. That's going to help an awful lot when taking into account Jaheim White's skill set and how he's going to likely be the lead back in a heavy run package. Heck, quote, might even be a group that goes by committee for sure, but Jaheim White's veteran. He's a veteran and was last year's leading rusher. He had to split carries last year between CJ, Garrett Green, etc. He's not the biggest guy in the world. He's just 5'7". This is a big, long quote. But he's extremely quick. He's low to the ground. I think he's hard to see behind that big offensive line. They've got 4 SEC transfers coming in, by the way, and he can hit the hole immediately. And before you know it, he's passed you. That's led to nearly 1,700s over the last 2 seasons for Jaheim White. 11 touchdowns, averaging almost 7 yards per carry. McElroy went on to explain that a knee injury has him limited in spring, combined with the uncertainty of the new offense, and that's why he was left off the top 10 list. Although he does believe the fit will work in Rich Rod's offense, there's no knowing for sure exactly how big White's role will be. Quote, here's another big quote. So he was a little bit limited in the spring, and maybe we don't know exactly how good he's going to be and how he will be utilized and all the different ways he might be used in this offense, said McElroy. The minor knee injury shouldn't be a problem with him in the fall, but we have seen very little of what he might be able to do in this new look Rich Rod offense. But Jaheim White, I think, is a guy who can do an awful lot in this offense. Catch the ball in the backfield. He can break long runs. He's got speed. He's got quickness, elite elusiveness. I'm excited about seeing the mix with him. He's also is not bad in the backfield as a pass catcher, like we said. So excited to see that fit. Jaheim White married Rich Rodriguez. And then it says West Virginia's coming off a 6-7 season where he had 844 yards, 7 touchdowns, which led the team with both Donaldson and Green getting a bunch of the carries last year. So there could be an even larger opportunity for him this year. And could very well be a top 10 back by the end of the season, especially if he stays healthy. And I'll tell you what, I'll be honest. That's the best explanation I've ever heard. What a very thorough job. I got to be honest here. That really impressed me. That whole explanation, that's what I would have said, like an insider, somebody that follows this every single waking moment of my life. I really got to give Greg McElroy a hand there. It shows that he does his research. There's not a lot of guys that they'll look at the numbers and they might watch a minute of highlights or something, but He knows the history. He knows why Jaheim White's not playing well, and he knows why he's not in the spring, right now. So I really liked that out of him. That was impressive, man. Very impressive. Yeah, we got a number two. We got a number two. Probably we got a couple number twos, really. Let's go a quick 6-second break. On the other side, we'll finish this thought. Be right back. And we are back here, Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining in, guys. For those of you just joining, sobering news tonight as we learned about the Jake Retzloff situation and the accusations, the civil suit that will play out in court for him as sexual assault allegations have been made a couple years after the fact, which doesn't always mean it didn't happen. And there's a bunch of stuff going on there with the police possibly discouraging her from reporting this, which would explain why it wasn't done for a couple years. And it's just a lot. So that we just talked about Jaheim White and how he was left off the top 10 running backs list, and Greg McElroy certainly made up for that. And Blake Huddleston wants to know in the chat, do we have a bona fide number two behind Jaheim White? Bona fide, I would say no, not yet. But my favorite acronym for yet is you're eligible to, right? And here's the thing. We have you're eligible to, if not three, if not four guys. So let me break it down like this. There's a couple ifs, ands, and buts in this because, there's a little caveat with each one of these players. But the ceiling is through the roof, truly, for all these guys in a different sense. Sincere Bowser would probably be my pick to be number two. And I know a lot of you guys probably don't even know who he is yet. But he's a junior college transfer that just committed to West Virginia. If we can somehow get his commitment before December happens, or I'm sorry, before the season starts, he's my pick over everybody. And I've said this multiple times. As a matter of fact, why don't we just show you guys why he's my pick? I can just show you because it's one of those things where Sincere Bowers, by the way, not Bowser. I always say Bowser for some reason. So let me share a screen with you guys. Oh, by the way, and the favorite, probably Ty Edwards from Northern Iowa, is CJ Donaldson size, 6'2", 250 pounds, 240. They clocked him at 22 miles an hour on the gun at Northern Iowa, or 21 miles an hour, I'm sorry. So that's like that 4 or 5 level speed. So he's a big, fast back. One cut, not a lot of fluff to him. He's obviously one of those guys for sure that you look at and say could be a big-time addition no matter what. But, I mean, if you're going to be honest, Jalen Knighton, man, obviously he played at Miami, he played at SMU last year, is a home run waiting to happen. Go look at his Miami highlights. They're extremely impressive. But, he's coming off an injury. So that's the main reason that I hesitate on him for now. So, if we can get this kid here, Sincere Bowers, because there's a thing going on where he committed this year, but from what I understand, his credits may not come over until this upcoming season of 26. And guys, I'll be honest with you. I just don't think he'll be available for us. I think we'll lose him if that happens. That's how talented he is. And I'll prove it to you right here. So let me get rid of that. This kid is like you say, as a baseball player, some baseball players are 5-tool players. Sincere Bowers is a Tavon Austin type player, and I'm not even regretting saying that. Is he going to be Tavon Austin? No, I'm not saying that. But he's got those skills. He can kick return. He can punt return. You can get between him out of the backfield. You can line him up in the slot. You can literally do anything with him. He's a 4-4 guy that can really juke people around, and I'll just play the tape. It's the best thing to do. Let me hit pause here. I'm glad somebody asked me, though. So as you can see, the cut ability he has is ridiculous. And this is just on the first play. There's one cut, there's two cuts as he outruns people to the end zone. This kid can really, really go. And once he gets in the open field, he very rarely gets touched. He's got really, 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 really great speed. Here he is on punt return, kick return, whatever you need him to do, he can do it. And I am so excited. There he is hurdling a guy into the open field and running away from everybody. Like, he is the most under-recruited player that I evaluated this past offseason, and it's not a close second. Sincere Bowers, if he has another year in JUCO, everybody in the country will want him. Everybody. I believe that with all my heart. He's that good. And he plays in the SEC of JUCO, which in the Jayhawk Conference. Look at that move, like he's got a ton in his game. This is out of the backfield right here, right? Sorry, I went back a little too far, but here's out of the backfield. Catching the ball out of the backfield, turn, make two moves in the end zone. Or maybe that was a first down, I'm not sure. I'll show you guys one more quick one on him. That one didn't show up everything I wanted to show. Here he is out of the backfield right here. And this is a good angle here. Here he is to the outside. There he cuts to the middle, and he's gone up the field. It's a pretty crazy angle here, though. Not going to lie. I think this may have been the last place he was at. Love that cut. Love that cut. So you see the cut ability he's got here. Two cuts he makes on this next play that are really impressive. So here he is right here in the backfield. This first cut to a huge open hole is nice. But then this cut here to beat this guy is really nice. And he's just got that. He's got the speed. Here's another cut. Well, no, he just outran everybody. But, I mean, there's not a lot of guys you see doing that, right? And so there's a lot to like, man. I really think this kid is special, though. And if he ends up at West Virginia, I just guarantee he'll be on the field. I'll put my name on it. I love this kid. Everything about him, man. I'd love to have him on, actually. I may hit him up and see if he wants to do something with West Virginia. Look at the contact balance to get down the sideline here. This is practice footage, it looks like, but it's still great footage. Still great footage. So I'll show one more that's a little more recent, maybe. Some of these are
third quarter. Titans are milking more and more off the clock this go around. Sincere Bowers, another handoff, breaks outside, one man to beat, cuts back over the middle of the field, and another.
Like to see that. Little stutter step, cut to the outside, and he's gone down the sidelines again. And you see that breakaway speed, though, at the very end, man. This kid is a flash in the pan whenever he hits the hole. He's gone. Look at this big jumbo set right here. Look, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in the box, and he still gets it. And look how he uses blockers, and he's got the vision to make people miss. And then once he hits that sideline, he's got such great, just that an extra gear to pull away from guys. So, yeah, if you're going to ask me about number 2, it's all dependent on if this guy can somehow, if we can get him to Morgantown before next year, because he could play at Morgantown this year. Absolutely he could, but it would take some credits and things like that to work. And what I was told when he committed a week or two ago, that wasn't necessarily happening yet. So as you can see, this is on a kick return. He does it all. He really does it all. So, yeah, Sincere Bowers, man, is a special, special talent, guys. Here he is in motion. So he'll be on a pass play. Look at the route he runs, too. Perfect example of one of the reasons I love him so much. This is on a linebacker mismatch. Watch the move to the inside he makes on the linebacker here. Let me get past you really quick. Snatches that thing, and then he's going to use 4.4 speed to outrun everybody. Nobody's catching him. So I'm curious. Let me know down below what you think of Sincere Bowers. Did you know he was this good before I told you about him? And are you sold on him yet, or do you need to see him at the big boy level? because that's a fair criticism, but it's the only criticism. Maybe his size is one, but like if if you're telling me talent wise, like this kid's got it all. He's got it all. So I'm looking forward to seeing him in gold and blue. I just think that if he gets another year at JUCO, Florida State was already sniffing around here. So if he gets another year in JUCO, guys, I have a feeling that West Virginia may not end up with this kid. So, I would love to see him, just come on down to West Virginia and just forget about it. So, yeah, the tape on him is ridiculous, Blake. Thanks for asking. All right, guys, that's all I got on this one. I wanted to get on here and talk about the Retzloff thing more than anything, but wishing the best for all parties involved there. Wanted to do another video. I was feeling froggy tonight. So, all right, guys, we will talk tomorrow. Hopefully we get some basketball news soon. Certainly we got some more football news probably coming at some point, I would imagine. I didn't think they were done, but maybe they're done. I'll just keep your eyes peeled. We'll talk about it later, guys. Have a great day. This episode's over, and I'm out of here.